name is Olha Chernovol. I'm a Ukrainian lawyer and scholar who escaped from my motherland due to Russian aggression against Ukraine. My primary research interests are concerned with the history of law and how it continues to be made. In particular, my work focuses on the analysis of duties of citizens, theoretical models of legal provision and implementation, and most recently anti-corruption policies. Since 2020, I have been a member of Ukrainian National Bar Association, and I have over 7 years of legal experience in legal practice, including civil law, corporate law, administrative law, military and labor law. Nowadays, I am completing postdoctoral fellowship at the University of Ottawa in Canada, where I work with Professor Jennifer Quaid on a research project dealing with exploring non-trial resolution in anti-corruption matters. Yes. I can tell you a story from the beginning. On February 24th, all the world woke up to a war as Russia invaded my motherland, Ukraine. Sparkling the worst conflict at the continent since World War II. For me, it's still not easy topic after even 1 year, but it's really hard for me to talk about that. So invasion began in the morning, February 24. Upon Russian President Vladimir Putin's announcement of special military operation, seeking the demilitarization and denazification of Ukraine. Minutes later, Russian aid strikes and a ground invasion were launched along all of territory of Ukraine. In response, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky enacted martial law and general mobilization. The invasion has costed tens of thousands of deaths and instigates Europe's largest refugee crisis since World War II. Over 8 million Ukrainians were displaced. The invasion has been met with widespread international condemnation. Many countries imposed sanctions against Russia and Belarus and provided humanitarian and military aid to Ukraine. Yeah, when war began, I was in Kiev. I was in my flat. Very fast following Russian invasion, I needed to make a decision to leave country because I knew that I was in a high risk due to my work experience as a lawyer and as an anti-corruption expert. This decision was really hard for me. On March 7th, I crossed a border close to Poland, and I spent 2 days there just because I was trying to buy a train ticket to my final destination, Germany, where I spent 3 months like a refugee. During my stay in Germany, I learned about special visa program for Ukrainians set up by Canada. So I applied for and I obtained this special visa for Ukrainians, for displaced Ukrainians. At the same time, during my stay, I tried to find opportunities for me outside of Ukraine because I knew that it's still dangerous for me to come back while we have a war in Ukraine. In July 2022, I came to the University of Ottawa Faculty of Law. It happened thanks to network of Canadian academics and Transparency International Canada. So I was put in contact with Professor Jennifer Quaid. She's an internationally recognized expert on economic crime and corporate criminal liability, who is currently directing a multi-year comparative study on the use of non-trial resolutions in anti-corruption enforcement, funded by the Social Science and Humanities Research Council of Canada. As a holder of such grant, she was able to secure funding for me that I could join to her team like as postdoctoral fellow. And This was possible through a one-time program called a Special Response Fund for researchers from Ukraine. At the same time, not so long after my arrival, I was able to join to the program Scholar at Risk program. So nowadays I'm postdoctoral fellow and working with Jennifer Quaid. At the same time, I'm Scholar at Risk at the Human Rights Research and Education Center at U Ottawa. Anti-corruption is not easy topic, right? Because many experts around the world have a discussion about that corruption is bad, but not everyone knows how to prevent it, right? You know that if we're talking about Ukraine, yes, we have a little debate among experts around the world that corruption in Ukraine, like, widespread problem. Yeah, in more than 30-year period since its independence, Ukraine has created several institutions to support its effort to prevent corruption. Of course, attention to Ukrainian experience significantly increased since February 2022. Nowadays, many experts would like to know about Ukrainian experience, especially anti-corruption, because they would like to help Ukraine during war and also after war will be over with reconstruction. For me, I am outside of Ukraine, right? So for me, it's easier to speak about Ukrainian experience being in Canada, right? And it's easier to help international experts to find a way how to help effectively to Ukraine. At the same time, I have opportunity to learn Canadian experience on anti-corruption working with Jennifer Quaid, because as I found also in Canada, experts have many discussions about effectiveness of anti-corruption system in Canada. Many of them say that Canada needs a special agency to prevent corruption. And nowadays also it's important to say that Canada will undergo in a phase 4 evaluation and under the OECD Convention on Bribery and Corruption in 23. So that's why maybe my experience in Canada can be useful for understanding and for identification of corruption risks, possible corruption risks. Because Ukraine has some experience of creating anti-corruption agencies, right? And of course, not everything was successful in Ukraine. Maybe such experience will help Canada to avoid some risks in creating anti-corruption agencies. So for me, I have good opportunities being here in Canada to continue my job like anti-corruption experts, and I'm really happy for that, you know. You know, I'm planning for stay. After some years, I think I will come back to Ukraine, and then I can help Ukraine to develop more effective mechanisms in anti-corruption. But for now, we have still war, and it's still dangerous for me to come back, and no one doesn't know when this war will be over. And at the same time, I have a possibility to take knowledge which I can use in the future in Ukraine to help my country to develop more effective mechanisms. When I was in Ukraine, I had the possibility to learn anti-corruption system from different sides, because I was in Ukraine and now I'm in Ukraine licensed attorney, right? Due to my legal practice, I could learn many mechanisms. I could find gaps in the legislation, and I could understand how we have to improve our legislation. At the same time, I was executive director in NGO, so like I learned anti-corruption area from civil society side. At the same time, I was a project coordinator in a private company, and also activity of this company dealing with anti-corruption. So I learned anti-corruption from a different side. And it helped me to receive some knowledge, right? This knowledge is pretty different from Canadian experience, because in Canada, experts consider corruption from a bit different way, right? They would like to follow rules. They would like to understand how. And they criticize their system very open. In Ukraine, not so like that. Yes, we criticize anti-corruption system. We are doing everything to improve our anti-corruption prevention system. But at the same time, some mechanisms are not effective. So that's why for me here, while I'm learning Canadian experience, I have opportunity to introduce Ukrainian experience to international experts. So that's why sometimes we have a discussion about how this system works in Ukraine, if we have the same experience that Canada would like to build. So that's why sometimes I can help and discuss about corruption risks. And they need to pay attention on that while they would like to create new experience of corruption prevention in Canada. So yeah, it's very interesting activity in Canada.
That's fascinating.
Success requires hard working, right? During my career in Ukraine, I tried to be successful career by studying a lot and working a lot. I achieved a lot in a young age. When I was 26, I received my PhD diploma. It's a pretty young. And I already, at the same time, already had 3 master's degrees. So after some time, I could manage a higher position in the private sector. I almost achieved what I wanted, but Russian invasion destroyed my career. So for me, emotional barriers is the biggest challenge because it's not easy to start from a scratch. Again, you were working, you were studying, you receiving something, and one day you understand, and people sometimes say that it's nothing. And you need to start from a zero, right? So it was the biggest challenge for me to do that, but I'm trying to handle it. At the same time, to be successful, the right environment is important. So I'm happy that in Canada I could meet such right environment, because every day I receive support from my supervisor, from my colleagues from University of Ottawa, from people, from Canadians who know me. And it's very important and it's very helpful for me to rebuild my life here in Canada. I'm here 9 months, almost 10 months, and I was successful that I rebuilt my life here in Canada. So I'm really grateful that I met such great people, and I don't regret that I came to Canada. I would like just to say thank you to all who support Ukraine, and please stand with Ukraine.